Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. And today I'm really excited with another great guest. I have got Lee Mills, international spiritualist medium, who has joined us today from Wales.
Yeah, West Wales.
West Wales. Hi, Lee. Welcome. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you. Now, it's super exciting for me because you are an evidential medium who does platform, and there aren't many of us, are there, out there?
No, it doesn't seem to be. No, there doesn't seem.
So I know that before we even started recording, I was talking to you about the trials and tribulations of platform, which would have been a great conversation to have on the podcast, but I was glugging my coffee and talking about it because, it is a hard job, isn't it?
It is. It's the nerves. The nerves get every time.
It's not for the faint of heart. So I know you do one-on-one readings, and we're going to delve more into the work that you offer and everything like that more. But if you could just start, I always get everyone to start at the beginning. How did you get into all of this?
Well, I can't really answer that question because I have never known any different. I've never known any different. I meet people and I was talking to a lady last week, for example, who she has been a working medium now for about 5 years. And I think she's just celebrated her 56th birthday. So this started quite later in life for her.
Yeah.
So I meet people that have similar like awakening experiences later on in life. And I can't really relate to that because it's always been something that I've been aware of. But my grandmother is also very sensitive to spirit too. So it was not something that I wouldn't say it was encouraged, but it was accepted that, oh, this is just what Lee does. Don't mind him. He's over there doing his thing. And I just sort of grew up with the ability to see spirit, and I didn't think any more of it until I remember I went to my local spiritualist church as a child with my nan. And I was like, I can do that. That's what I can do. That's who I am. And from that point on, that sort of gave me something to strive towards, because I remember the medium that I went to see was a very well-known medium in the local area. And like just evidence like you cannot believe that would come out of this man's mouth. And I was like, that's who I want to be. I want to be as good a worker as he is. And it's sort of just always been that carrot on a stick, it's been like, I want to help people the way he's helping people. I want to demonstrate like that. I want to know what that's like. I want to work in this way. And I sort of just made it my business really to be as good as I possibly can be. But yeah, sorry, I've digressed away from your question.
No, you haven't. I love it. I love a bit of digression. The podcast is all about digression. Listeners will be laughing their heads off because I barely stay on topic. So when you say, now I'm going to go straight into the nitty gritty because this is the kind of person I am. Now, I am not a natural medium, although of course I believe it is available to everybody, but I didn't know I had this ability, and it was something I learnt in later life in my 30s. So when you say see spirit, do you mean like it is on Ghost Whisperer Medium where you are actually seeing spirits, or do you mean you're aware of them and images pop into your mind?
So when I was early on in childhood, I would see spirit very similar to how I would see a living person.
Yeah.
There would be a difference. I would be able to tell the difference. And then as I went through childhood and started to approach my teens, I would not see them with my physical eyes, but more so with my mind's eye. But I would be able to sense their presence. And then as I sort of went into my teens and up until present day, I now see spirit with my physical eyes, but as a negative of a photo. So I see them like in black and white, as like a black and white energy, if that makes sense.
Wow.
With it's like almost having like your three eyes working all at the same time for me. So with my two physical eyes, I see like a negative of a photo. And then with my third eye, I'll see like hair color, eye color, anything that they want to show me, like jewelry or, tattoos, perhaps anything evidential that they want to get across that's specific to them, I'll see with my third eye.
So can you see who they're with so if you had an audience, you would be able to go, I'm with you because they're stood behind you?
So it starts off. So if I'm doing an audience, I will see spirit to my right every time to my right. I don't know why.
They're always on my right too. I don't know why. Always.
We'll trust the process. They're to the right. They're always to the right. So I'll have someone step forward, and it'll be okay. So I have to acknowledge I have a gentleman here. So and I'll ask him, so where are you going? And then I will see him with the person that he's with. So then I'll know where I'm going. And then from that point on, then the clairsentient ability will kick in, and I'll be able to say, so for example, okay, this man is telling me he's your dad. He passed away of a heart attack. He's making me feel that here. This is what he's asking me to let you know. This is evidence of his survival, and so on and so on. So yeah, but having said that, I could do that. That could work fine one day, and the next day it could be totally different.
I was just going to ask you if that ever fails on you, because it's that my gift does not work like that at all, and I would probably give one of my toes for it to work like that, because that's pretty cool, but not a big one, I don't think. Anyway, but like, so sometimes it doesn't work like that for you, and you work more like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's like the rest of it. So yeah, and then so that's tends to be the way it works for me. Sometimes I could be in a demonstration or in an audience of people, and I won't have a clue where I'm going. So the spirit will be to my right, and they will stay right there, and it'll be okay. So I've got, for example, the name Fred. He passed away of this. He's telling me he's someone's dad. Can anybody in the audience take this link? So they don't always go to the person that they stood with. And then, in which case, we could get like 20 hands going up, and then it's a process of elimination to find out where we're going.
Yeah. I love it. It's so interesting talking to different mediums. I do mean to go straight honing in with the nitty gritty in your first question, but I love it because I just want to know how it works for other people, because I think there's a lot of ideas that we all have about mediumship, and it can sometimes hold us back in our expectations of what we're able to do. We feel like ours is broken or we can't do it. So I just love finding out how different mediums work and how they perceive different energies and stuff like that. Do you find that your connection to spirit is impacted by the vibration frequency of the audience?
It can certainly be manipulated by the audience, absolutely. So, I think we briefly touched on it before we hit the record. We really should have hit the record button right at the start.
I know, damn it.
I think laughter is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It really raise the vibration, although I'm a big believer in that the medium is the channel. So spirit will channel through the medium regardless of the energy. If there's a need for the audience to hear from their loved ones in spirit, that need will come regardless of anything else. But it certainly is helpful to have an upliftment and an upbeat energy in the room around you also, if nothing else, just because it's a nice place to be in a smiling room, so it makes you and I think more than it benefits the audience, it helps the medium also to feel at ease, because there's nothing more daunting than having hundreds of eyes looking at you. But then if you're feeling relaxed because you can see that you're being well received by the audience, you start to think, okay, right, I can do this, I can do it. And then that sort of energy, that link and that communication tends to flow a lot easier. So absolutely, the room is important.
I think it's also because I've obviously, we were talking about this before I hit record, but I do find that some demonstrations cost me more in energy than others, and it's certainly the ones where there's lots of laughter and it's lots of fun do not have the same impact on me physically that harder audiences do. And I love it. It's so interesting. So you were always aware of spirit. You were very helpfully, the spirit world gave you a grandmother who was in a spiritualist church and could take you and show you all of these things. How do you feel that has impacted your journey? Because I find that a lot of the people that I teach, it's not a case of giving them anything they hadn't already got. It's an unfolding of the layers that have been put on them since they were a child.
It certainly has given me the best possible start, without a doubt. But having said that, the way in which I learn is no different to anybody else. We are all blessed with an infinite possibility to gain infinite knowledge the minute we are born. It's how then we understand the different layers and the different ways of unlocking these doors as we go across into our journey that then allows us access to different levels of knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So although my grandmother she's not a demonstrating medium, but she sees and communicates with spirit exactly the same way as I do. She'll see spirit as a negative of a photo also. But she doesn't demonstrate mediumship. She's like, no, that's not for me. I'll help you. And, if I'm with friends and there's something that needs to be said, I'll say it, but it's not something that she will do. But I think having that person in your life, and she's a big part of my life anyway, even now, she's still a very big part of my life. made me think that, right, this is okay. You know,
Yeah.
she's who I trusted with my life and still do. So if that person in your life is someone who you trust infinitely and is saying, this is okay, this is what this means, this is how you do this, and this is where you go with that, it makes that journey so much easier for you. And my daughter's now the same. I have 3 children, and my youngest daughter is incredibly sensitive to spirit, more so than I am. You know, and she's great. She's something else. She really is something else.
Oh,
And
I
she
love it. Oh, fantastic. So you have 12 years, is it, you've been working professionally, if I recall correct?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what made you decide to take the leap? And obviously you saw and you were inspired by the medium you saw at the church when you were younger. But what made you think, actually, now is my time. This is my time. I need to do this.
Well, I think 12 years ago, although I started working professionally 12 years ago, that wasn't my time. And I've only recently become aware of that. So although I did start and I was doing church services 12 years ago, and I would do one-to-one readings 12 years ago, I was also working full-time in my job, and I had my first child 12 years ago. So I was then adjusting to parenthood and my life and everything else that comes with that. So that was very much stop and start. And then maybe as and when a church needed me to fill in, I would go and do that. But it wasn't everything about who I was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It really has only been maybe the last 12 months that I felt, right, now is my time. It has always been there, and I have worked continuously for 12 years, but now it's really been right, this is Lee's time. This is now what I'm going to focus on. This is where I want to go. I'm going to make this work. And I don't know what's different about now. It just feels as though, it felt very much as though, right, here's the call, fine, I will answer the call. And it was very much like that. I did stop for a little while. So I think I explained to you, my wife passed away 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Immediately after her passing, I threw myself into mediumship, and that was absolutely the wrong thing for me to do, because I was taking on other people's grief in addition to my own, but I was neglecting my own grief. Mediums, we go into a grieving situation with a sense of invincibility that, well, I know she's fine. Why do I need to grieve? And that's absolutely right. Of course she is. And I'm happy for her that she's no longer ill or in pain. And I understand that, our paths are now meant to go different directions. I totally and wholeheartedly believe that. But I am still having an earthly experience, and I do need to acknowledge the feelings that come with grief. So, yeah, maybe about 12 months ago, then I kept having requests for readings after reading after reading, and I was ignoring them. And it got to a point I was like, do you know what? Fine. If you say now's the time is right, now's the time is right. And it has just skyrocketed since then.
Yeah, because you're selling out gigs. I mean, I said to you at the beginning, anything you want me to promote for you on the podcast? And you were like, I'm all sold out. And I was like, smashing. Like,
Amazing.
Incredible. So obviously I was going to bring up about your wife's passing, and I'm so sorry for that. Now, did you manage to hold on to your faith through that?
Yes, if anything, it strengthened my faith. And not that it was ever in doubt, or I didn't really feel it needed to be strengthened.
Yeah.
But I do, so I think it's important to note that both my wife and I knew that she was going to pass away. So a very long, drawn out process for her. Although she wasn't really into this, if that makes sense. She was very much, that's Lee's thing. I don't want anything to do with it. It scares me. Just leave me out of it.
Yeah.
But I remember the last 2 days of her life, she woke up one morning, and obviously I could see something had changed with her health, and she was aware of that. And she said to me, is today the day? And my words to her were, I don't think we're going to get out of this one today. And then she went back to sleep. She slept continuously up until maybe 10 minutes before she passed away. And at that point, I could see the spirit of her grandmother walk towards her. And then my wife, Laura, opened her eyes, and I said to her, right, you go when you need to. Your nan's here to come and get you. She closed her eyes and then passed away. So it reinforced for me that, not that it needed confirming for me, but nothing's gone wrong. This was always meant to be.
Yeah.
And I took a great deal of comfort from that, and I still do. And, there were a couple of times where, prior to that final decline in her health, where I'd wake up in the night and I would see my wife stood there, but also where that she was sleeping next to me. And I was very confused about this. Like, she's still alive. How's she there? But how is her spirit there? And I went to see another medium, And I explained this to her. In fact, it was the medium who I saw as a child. You know, I had a conversation with him. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because this is what I'm seeing. And he's like, right, what you're seeing is your wife is getting ready to leave.
Yeah.
You know, that she's almost like that in that in-between stage. She's getting ready to leave. The fact that you're seeing that, the spirit world is allowing you to know that she's okay. Everything is going to be fine, and everything's meant to be just as it is. I took a great deal of comfort from that.
Yeah.
Although I was aware I couldn't change the circumstance or the situation, I had no choice, and we had no choice but to go with it. It was, yeah, I certainly took a great deal of comfort from that.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's a really profound and amazing story for people to be able to hear and take comfort from themselves. I mean, I don't have magic eyes, but that is super. I mean, what a gift to be able to see her grandmother coming to collect her and just be a part of that. That's incredible. Do you think that part of the reason why you're feeling more like now's your time is because your children are a little bit older?
I think so. I mean, my oldest is 12. He's nearly 13. They've always been very much aware that this is what Daddy does. So they're not at an age where they need me to do everything for them. So my oldest is 12, and then I have a daughter who's 10, and then I have a daughter who's 8. So they are dependent on me, but then they don't need me to do every little thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have some amazing friends that live just a couple of doors away, and my children are also best friends with their children. So, like, as it is right now, in order for me to speak to you right now, they're over there. You know, so
I guess I was going to say they're incredibly well behaved. I haven't heard a peep.
They are good. But, yeah. So, and also, my friends I've just mentioned also, they're very spiritually minded as well, and very sensitive to spirit themselves. So there is that understanding that, you know, this is what we're all about. You know, so yeah, I think I couldn't honestly tell you. I just trust the process that now's the time for whatever reason, and who am I to argue it?
I know, it's just because I had somebody ask me the other day, and they said, you know, I've got 3 children under the age of 6 and I feel like I'm spread too thin. And my advice to them was just do what you can when you can, but don't push it, because when you have got children that are at an age when they really need you are split. Mine are 13 and 16, and I barely see them now. So I'm glad I've got my spiritualism, because otherwise I'd be bereft. They just, you know.
Yeah, what would you do?
Exactly. I just sit around waiting for them to glare at me and grunt, and it would be very miserable. So it's fascinating. Now, you do, I know you're very passionate about sharing how spirit works and information about spirit and messages from spirit. And you do fortnightly lives on Facebook, don't you? So tell us a bit about that.
Well, that really, so in all honesty, that started because, well, for a number of reasons, really. You know, there are so many people that, like you said, we've touched on that not many people do platform work, but there are lots of people that do one-to-one readings. But some people honestly charge extortionate prices, and I'm like, not everyone has that sort of money, and it's right to give something back to people.
Mm-hmm.
But also, where the platform work I do is to raise money for charities and things, and local causes and sports teams and things like that. And I thought, right, how can I get my profile out there in order for people to want to come and buy tickets, to want to come and support the causes that I'm trying to support? So I thought, right, so we'll go live. We'll see how this goes. We'll go live, and we'll invite lots of people, and we'll showcase what this is about. And if they like what they see, then they'll want to book tickets and support the charities that we're supporting.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for anything more. I really couldn't have. And every week there's been more and more viewers on the lives. It's honestly so fantastic to see.
Good.
We're able to support so many causes and charities and stuff because of it. It's really is so touching to see that so many people want to get behind things if you just give them a little bit about what they're going to get.
Yeah, amazing. And I think we're in desperate need in the UK of ethical mediums doing lives and things like that. So she who doesn't do any anymore, but I do the podcast that will cover it. But it is that kind of it's a, you know, there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of sales techniques and a lot of underhand unethical things that are happening out.
They really are. And that was another reason I wanted to do the lives, because, you know, there are so many opinions about this sort of thing for many different reasons. You know, there could be religious beliefs that would impact someone's understanding of mediumship. There are skeptical beliefs that people think, well, you just have to make money. I've had that myself. I advertised a local event a couple of weeks ago, and someone actually commented on there, for goodness sake, let's not pander to this nonsense. Just donate it straight to the charity rather than go into. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. If that's how you feel, it's not my job to change your mind. But if you'd like to come and see it for yourself, to know there's no trickery or magic mirrors, feel free,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all sorts of reasons. But one of the reasons I did want to start the lives is because I wanted people to see that actually there's nothing scary.
Mm-hmm.
It is about healing, and it is about just letting you know without a shadow of a doubt that your loved ones are no more than a thought away, and they're perfectly safe and well in spirit.
Absolutely.
They're still very much with you, albeit in a very different way. And I take that as a big responsibility, not just to the people, because these people come to us in the most delicate and vulnerable times of their life. There is no room for nonsense there. We have no right to be playing with people's emotions. This is something we should be taking very seriously. And unless you are confident that, right, I will give it my everything. If spirit want me to work for you, I will commit to working for spirit for you today. Then you can't ask more than that. You then become a pure vessel and channel to work for that person.
Love it. I love it. So you just touched on something which I'm quite passionate about. What is your belief in demons, dark forces? Do you believe people get stuck? Anything like that?
I believe where there's good, there's bad. I absolutely, and I do, and I'm, again, this is another point that I do raise to people, is that being a medium is not all about, I could just go and deliver a message from mum or dad. There is a responsibility to maintain the balance between the good and the bad there. We get contacted by people and they're like, right, there's something going on in my house. I don't feel safe. Can you come and have a look? And 9 times out of 10, there's nothing there. But sometimes there is a memory, if you like. There's something about that environment that draws a negative part of someone back to that place to then keep reliving that emotion, that feeling, and that is then what plagues people. I don't believe we get stuck in terms of outside of our choice. Personally, I believe that some people choose to stay where they are through fear of moving on, because you could have a situation where someone has lived a life where they caused a great deal of harm to other people. And while they were alive, they didn't necessarily think there was anything hereafter. So we go through life causing this negativity and this harm without really anything thought about the responsibility for what we're going to face afterwards. Now, I don't believe for a second that we go to a place where we are punished. But if someone then lived that life, they then pass away and they think, oh, right, there is something, because I've passed away and I'm now still here. Right, I'm not going any further because now I'm afraid of what I'm going to face. Then that person has chosen to stay where they are instead of moving forward within the spirit realms and going to the place of healing themselves. And I think that's then where some people may get confused, where they're stuck, but they're not stuck. They maybe have chosen to stay where they are through fear of moving on themselves.
Interesting. We have slightly different perceptions of it, but I love it. I'm always open to a new idea and chewing it over and thinking about things, because it is so fascinating, isn't it? And like you say, there is a lot of opinion, and for the most part, we can only offer our perception and our take of it and our understanding. So I love that. But yeah, in my experience, the fear stuff comes from humans, and that frequency that once you start to feel afraid, you bring more.
And I think it's important for us all, because we may be mediums, we may be sensitive to spirit, but we are far from all knowing.
I
think we have a belief ourselves. What we get from spirit as mediums is interpreted in our way. So what I get from spirit, I've interpreted that in a certain way to then match my own understanding, and you've done the same.
Exactly.
But I think it's important for us then is to then be able to come together and think, okay, this is what I think and that's what you think, but change my mind. Give me a different perspective. Can we match it? Can we alter each other's?
Exactly.
And I think as long as we do that, that will then stop. We then don't get an ego. We then don't start thinking that one of us is better than the other, because we're not.
No. And I know that there were things that I believed 7 years ago that I believed wholeheartedly and were true to me from the level of consciousness I was at then.
Yes.
And as I have developed and as I have grown, my consciousness has expanded, my awareness has expanded, my understanding. I've been listening to my old podcasts, and I listen back to them and I go, oh no, I don't believe in that anymore. What was I talking about? But I think it's important to acknowledge that we can grow with, it's not a rule book.
Of course.
Understandings change. I love it. I love it. I love having proper conversations with people. So that is absolutely fascinating. Now tell me this, what is one thing that you wish everybody knew about mediumship?
I wish as in not just amongst mediums, but the whole population.
The whole world. If you could have a plaque that went out to everybody and it was Lee Mills' plaque, what would it say?
I would like, I don't know if it would say one thing. I would like for everyone to have the understanding that the purpose of mediumship is to help people, that it help you heal, it's to help you grieve, it's to not just you, but also your loved ones. You know, your loved ones will channel through a medium because that's also helping their healing to get across a message to you, you know, to let you know that they're safe and that they're well. You know, although they're in spirit and they have a greater understanding, they still love you very much. They don't want you to feel as though that you've left them. So I would like it would be for everyone to know universally that there's a gift to help people and not to con people.
Yeah. And it's understandable when you look at some of the things.
It really is. I do get it. I get why people think that way about us. I can't deny that I understand it, because there are people that I see locally that consider themselves to be mediums, and okay, if you are, great, more power to you, but that's not what I see when I look at your work. You know,
well, I was going to ask you this, because if you can see spirit, now I've got two things about your see. I'm really fascinated with this. Can you tell? But first of all, do you reckon it's a gene? Like, why has your nan got it and you've got it and you see it the same way? Like,
I do. Now see, this is where I said to you, I'm open to being changed on this, because I feel like I'm sort of there, but I know I don't know it all. If this makes sense.
Yeah.
So I do believe there is an element of like it being a hereditary thing, but also not. So I can't really answer, because I don't. It's got to start somewhere. It has got to start somewhere, and that's not like you could. I've met people before now that their family history goes back at maybe the Catholic faith for generations upon generations upon generations, as mine does. You know, my maternal family is Catholic, but my nan, who was also a medium, was brought up a Catholic. But it's very much like it's got to start somewhere. But I do believe the sensitivity is there, and it keeps bringing me back to is that I believe every single person, no matter where you are in this world, is born close to spirit. As and children, we are incredibly sensitive to spirit. But if you tell a child or baby going into childhood something is not real, enough times they will believe it's not real. And I think that's what's happened with a lot of what could have been some fantastic mediums through the years, is that maybe they've just been told enough times it's not real, or it's to trick people, or don't bother the dead, leave them rest. Yeah. It's very much a lot of that, I think, and that has put the lid on what could be some fantastic sensitivity to the spirit world.
I know when I first started as a medium, I would almost be like, pardon me, sorry for bothering your slumber. Like, they're off there, like, you know, because I just felt like I was interrupting. And when I realized that they're just here and they're with us anyway, and their infinite power, it was such an eye opener to me, because I was always like, excuse me, like I was waking them up, you know, my apologies. So I love that. Now, two questions, a million questions. Do you believe that anybody can be a medium, or do you believe it's a gift to some?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I am in no position to tell anybody that they cannot be a medium, because I don't know. They might well have that sensitivity to spirit, but I think there is a way in which to discover that. You know, I do hold an objection, I suppose is the right word, to, okay, one day I'm Joe Bloggs, today I'm a medium. Okay, let's break it down. How have you discovered this? What is your understanding of spirit? How do you work? Do you know how you work? Because, you know, we find ourselves in position. I've sat in front of people before now to give private readings, and I have broke my heart crying, because the messages that have come through to people, the energy that I felt in the room has made me feel so upset that I've probably cried more than the person I'm giving the reading for. And that's okay. Yeah. Because it shows authenticity, that actually you are feeling that. You know, do you have the right sort of personality to be able to counsel people? and support them through that very delicate time in their life. So I do believe at a point in our life, everyone is able to communicate with spirit. What the choices you make and the way in which you see your life going, certainly it has the ability to alter that, I think. And I would not say it's impossible to then go back and say, right, I'm going to strip myself back. I'm going to start at the beginning and then rediscover that gift for working for spirit.
Yeah.
So I suppose I've answered my question there. I think, yeah, everybody has the ability to be a medium.
Yeah, they have the ability, but do they have all the other? Because it's not just the ability to communicate with spirit. You're right. There's so much more to it than that. I was doing my last session with my beginners group yesterday, and I was like, so you've got to make sure that you're doing a big blend with the spirit, that you're getting the information out quick enough, that you're getting responses from your sitter, because that builds the energy. But you've also got to keep an eye on the rest of your audience, and you've got to make sure you're using the right language. And they were just like, and I was like, yeah, it's a lot. Good luck.
But you just do it.
Yeah, you do. You just get into a place where you practice it. But when you first begin, there are a lot of elements to it that are so much more than just I'm communicating with spirit. Yeah. Now, one of the things I have another bee in my bonnet about is people who are working what I would call I know that everyone uses psychic differently.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
You must be psychic.
Oh, it drives me. I'll let you finish because I could be.
Yeah, psychic, but they are saying they're working mediumistically. Is that what you're expecting? Because if you can see, do you ever see like their loved ones just behind? No, that's not right.
So there've been times where I've sat in an audience in a church service, for example, and there's been a medium up there, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I can see spirit around you without a doubt. I can see that person stood there. No question about it. You've got that. However, the information you're given, you're not understanding because that's not what they've just said to you. And I think what I always explain to people is that there is a difference between psychics and mediums. One is certainly not better than the other. I'm very clear about that. There's no hierarchy at all.
Agreed.
But a psychic will tell you things about the here and now and predictions for the future and things of your past with no mention of your loved ones. So if you go to an audience and someone says, okay, I can see that 6 months ago this happened for you, but right now you're not in that position, and then in 6 months' time I can see a house move, there's a holiday coming up for you, that's a psychic thing.
Yes.
If you say, right, your dad's name was Mark, he passed away of a cancer condition, there was this surrounding his health, he remembers you telling him this prior to his passing, he left you this is what he looked like, this was his middle name, this was I don't know, his address perhaps, that's evidence of survival.
Yeah,
that's what you'll get from a medium that you won't get from a psychic. But there are then mediums that work as psychic mediums. So personally, I will do a spiritual reading as a medium, but then I'll also do tarot cards afterwards. But I will say, this is now a psychic tool I'm using for you. This is a psychic reading just to polish off your whole experience today.
Absolutely. Because I think, my understanding of psychic is that it's earthbound energy. So yeah. it's not an altered state of communicating with the spirit plane, it's the earth plane. And what I find happens is that you can do a passable mediumship reading in the psychic frequency because the person who's sat in front of you has been thinking about their loved ones. So their energy field is filled with, I hope my dad comes through. And I always think it's wonderful when you watch a medium work and they bring through something that the sitter is reminded of or has forgotten, because then you're really bringing the spirit to life, and it's not what they're expecting, which can sometimes be hard. I know that often for people in the audience it feels like they're a mastermind, they can't even remember if their nan is a female when you come to them, they're just falling apart, but it just gives them that little bit of something where it brings a memory back or brings a moment back. And I think I love that when that happens.
I agree. And although it must be frustrating for the sitter, I don't remember the last time it didn't happen, actually. There's always things that are mentioned in readings but where they say, no, I can't take that. Well, I can't change that information. Can I ask that you keep it with you? Remember that I've said it, it's being recorded. This will make some sense to you at some point. And it's so nice then when these people, you see them like weeks later and they're like, actually, I went back and checked that. Yes, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Because more evidence for them again, because it's not something that you, like you said, you can't be picking that up from their auric field. Whereas the psychic would be able to, whether they even know they're doing that or not, would be able to understand the information contained within someone's auric field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an interesting, and people don't talk about it. People don't talk about the difference between psychics and mediums. And you know, and one of the things I've got at the moment that I'm going to do a whole podcast about is, just because you're a medium doesn't mean you work in every area of mediumship.
Oh, no, definitely.
So it's such a fascinating thing. So what would be your top 3 tips for a platform medium?
Okay, so meditate or sit within your own power, your own energy, let yourself grow would be my first one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, as much as we may look after our physical health, we may go to the gym to increase our physical muscles and our physical appearance. Meditating is that for our spiritual work. It's growing our spiritual muscles. We're suppressing temporarily. The reason I sit or meditate prior to demonstrations is to temporarily suppress my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, to allow the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the spirit world to channel through me, so that I have that confidence, right? That's not me thinking about that. This is a thought that I'm being given to acknowledge. So yes, sit as much as you possibly can. One thing that I wish I knew a lot earlier on is that, don't ever feel pressured. We hear a lot about circles and things like that. If you find a circle that's right for you, you stick with it. But if you're in a circle that you don't feel is right for you, don't stay there, because ultimately you're opening yourself up to a situation that you wouldn't if you really knew what you're opening yourself up to. So, and then take care of your spiritual hygiene. Just take care of yourself. Remove yourself from situations that you don't feel serve you very well. The company you keep around you, the love that you have around you, the love that you give to other people, and integrity every time. I do have people that come to me for readings, and I will be honest with people and say, if this is the situation I'm in, I'm not able to read for you today. I can see your loved ones there, but I hear an awful lot of chatter going on and nothing that I can really interpret that well to be able to give you an accurate message. Yeah. So I'd rather not play with your emotions. I'd rather not ruin someone's memory of the loved ones by guessing at things. Unless I hear that message very clearly from spirit, I will not pass that message on.
I love that. You don't say then, oh, they're there, but they're just too far away and I can't reach them. Like the spirit world are just dancing around the edge of your reach going, sorry, I'm not coming closer today.
Yeah, we're playing with you today. No, definitely not. I'm thinking, like you said, people come to us in vulnerable position. Honesty, integrity is paramount.
Absolutely, for sure. Now, you call yourself a spiritualist. Does that mean you are part of the spiritualist faith? I know we've mentioned churches.
Yes, so I am a member of the Spiritualist National Union. As with most things, I wouldn't say that I wholeheartedly throw myself into a specific faith, but if I had to categorize that, I suppose what I feel to be true more so applies to that.
Yes.
And mainly because the SNU follow a 7 principle, guidance, if you like, the 7 principles of spiritualism. And what I love about them is that they do not discriminate. My biggest thing that I love about them is that they do not discriminate against anybody based on their sexual orientation, their gender, religion. It's the only guidance that it gives you in summary is to live life in accordance with your own moral compass. And I think if everyone can understood that, right, that's the right thing to do. I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to cause harm to other people. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go and do it. And like I said, I've been surrounded by a Catholic. Well, I suppose I haven't been surrounded, but I'm aware of the Catholic faith. My family's been brought up around faith, and my dad's family have a different, religious belief. And I can see that, I have, family members who are gay, and I see that the impact that has on people. I'm like, what does it matter? Yeah. How on earth can we get to a place where we're preaching love, but then we don't extend it to everybody? Was what I find is that the 7 principles actually love everybody, and the only thing it encourages of you is to live life according to a good moral compass.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the conversation, isn't it? Because I mean, it would really wind up the bigots, because not only am I a medium who's preying on the grieving, but also, if you believe in reincarnation, do you believe in reincarnation?
I do.
Okay, so I do too. I thought that was, we were going to go off on a complete tangent then. But you know, who's to say I'm going to be female when I come back?
Exactly. You were meant to in this life because there's a part of what you need to learn in this life you could only do as a female.
Exactly. So who am I to say that one gender is right and one isn't? And you know, in my understanding of angels, generally, they seem to be non-binary. They are just a being.
There's no need for gender identity where they are. They are at our core. We are all an energy source. Yeah. And we only incarnate here to allow more spirits to incarnate. So therefore, there's got to be that male female in order to allow a physical body to be created for a spirit to step into. That's basically it. You know?
I love it. So I'm going to finish in a minute, I promise. I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to give you an easy ride, but obviously I'm just too excited. What do you think the purpose of physical life is?
See, that's, unless you know what the purpose is, I don't know. I think, see, this is where I could go off on a tangent, so I'm going to apologize, but I'm going to go on.
I love it. Go.
So, I hear a lot about physical realm, physical world, and versus the spirit world and spirit realms. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a friend about this, and then we sat on it, and then I did some automatic writing. And the things that come through this automatic writing actually was like, that's crazy, but it made a lot of sense. So when we talk about the universe as we know it, we've got the solar system, we've got these different planets, God knows what else. If it's physical, that's the physical realm. The planet Earth is not the physical realm. The planet Earth is just one place within the physical realm. So, and again, I will stress these are my personal beliefs because I know everyone has different on different things. Personally, I think that there are different places that we can incarnate physically, depending what the need of our progression is. So when we're in the spirit world, right, I need to go to Earth, for example, because that's the only place I can learn those lessons.
Yeah.
And I believe there are other places where we stay incarnate there until our lessons are learned. If Earth is a place where the minute we're born, there's a clock on our back. Right, you've got 70 years to learn everything, and whether you learn it or not, you're back. So I think it's like there's different places depending on what your need is for progression. So I think Earth is just a very small piece of it. I think there are lots and lots of different places that we can incarnate physically, depending on what our need is. Ultimately, it's for, one of the 7 principles is eternal progression open to every human soul. But not just human soul, every soul, I believe, whether that's fish, plants, whatever it may be, everything serves a purpose and we are all connected and therefore we all move together. So it's progression to infinite knowledge, infinite growth, infinite love.
I love it. I agree on that one, just so you know.
Yeah.
We don't have to cross swords.
Yes.
Oh, wow, Lee, you have been an amazing guest. I will put your details, a link to your Facebook page, a link to your website in the show notes so everyone can go check you out and watch your fortnightly lives and get involved. But thank you so much for sharing so much of your story with us all.
You're so welcome. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.